Well, good morning, everyone. What a weekend. A lot of marching going on here. Kind of proud of our young kids. Kind of remind me of me in the 60s. Uh, and yeah, I think we got some really good, strong leaders coming up, and so proud of them for speaking out against gun violence. So, on the other hand, I like our laws to be upheld. I like things to be done correctly, um, lawfully, that sort of thing. But we also have to remember that we are all spirit. We're all living in these body suits, and that we need to be respectful and loving of each other above all. And that should take precedence. And I don't care what your religious background is, or where you're from or whatever, you are still a spirit. You're still beloved by God. And even though we may think differently because we were brought up differently, doesn't mean I love you any less. So, yeah, and apparently Mark Zuckerberg is probably going to be called in to testify why he let so much data be sold on the open market during the 2016 campaign for Obama. So he'll have to face those charges, and we'll see what happens with the gun violence, and when it comes, time for to vote in November. Hopefully, we'll get some good laws on the books and stuff. And then there's a lot of factors to consider too. So, like mental health being one of them, and it's a huge problem. And also nutrition and things like that. Speaking of nutrition, there's something that if you guys have any kind of autoimmune deficiency, I'd like you to look into bone broth. Dr. Campbell Graham, I think is her name. Carol Campbell Graham or something, I can't remember. Anyway, look at bone broth, and she's this gal that she has an accent. I can't place it. I'm not sure if it's German or what, but she bought a farm just recently. She's written books on how you want to take the collagen and all the stuff that comes from bones, like chicken feet and real bones and everything, make a broth out of it, because that's where you get your pure probiotic. And you want to heal your gut. The lining, most importantly, because there's lots of tears and stuff in the lining, and you can't absorb the nutrients. That's why we're so depleted in magnesium, B12, and just deficient in all kinds of things. Why we have diabetes and obese and all of that stuff, because our gut's not able to absorb the nutrients that it really needs, and get rid of the fats and all that stuff. So, yeah, look that up. I hope that helps somebody out there. All right, so we last ended on page 91, and I'll just go up a little bit, talking about divine wisdom and divine love, okay? And we cannot be reformed, regenerated, and saved by any excess of divine love over divine wisdom, or by any excess of divine wisdom over divine love. Divine love wants to save everyone, but it can do so only by means of divine wisdom. All the laws that govern salvation are laws of divine wisdom, and love cannot transcend those laws, because divine love and divine wisdom are one and act in unison. The word justice and judgment mean divine love and divine wisdom, justice meaning divine love, and the judgment meaning divine wisdom. So, in the word, the Bible, justice and judgment are ascribed to God. For example, we read in David, quote, "Justice and judgment are the foundation of your throne." Psalm 79:15, 89 and 14. Again, Jehovah will bring out his justice like light and his judgment like noonday. Psalms 37:6. In Hosea, I will betroth myself to you forever in justice and judgment. Hosea 2:19. In Jeremiah, I will raise up a just branch for David who will rule as king and make judgment and justice in the land. Jeremiah 23:5. In Isaiah, he will sit on the throne of David and over his kingdom to make it secure in judgment and in justice. Isaiah 9:6 and 9:7. And again, let Jehovah be extolled because he has filled the earth with judgment and justice. Isaiah 35:5. In David, when I shall have learned the judgments of your justice 7 times a day, I will praise you over the judgments of your justice. And in Psalms 119:7, 164, life and light in John mean the same. In him was life, and the life was the light of humanity. John 1:4. Life here means that the Lord's divine love and light, the divine wisdom, life, and spirit mean the same in John as well. Jesus said, the words that I speak to you are spirit and life. See how he always uses words together, it's really great. Well, it's also in the Bible. So John 6:63, that was John 6:63. Even though love and wisdom seem to be two separate things in us, essentially they are distinguishably one. This is because the quality of our love determines the quality of our wisdom, and the quality of our wisdom, the quality of our love. Any wisdom that is not united in our love seems like wisdom, but it is not. And any love that is not united in our wisdom seems like wisdom's love, even though it is not. Each gets its essence and its life from the other in mutual fashion. The reason the wisdom and love within us seem to be two separate things is that our ability to understand can be raised into heaven's light, while our ability to love cannot, except to extend that we act accordingly to our understanding. So any trace of apparent wisdom that is not united in our love for wisdom relapses into the love that which it is united. This may not be a love for wisdom, but even be a love for insanity. We are perfectly capable of knowing from our wisdom that we ought to do one thing or another. So we are capable of knowing from our wisdom that we ought to do one thing or another, and then not doing it because we have no love for it. However, to the extent that we do the biting of our wisdom from love, we are images of God. Divine love and wisdom is substance in its form. The everyday concept of love and wisdom is that there's something floating around in our breath out by thin air or ether. Hardly anyone considers that in reality, and in function they are the substance and form. Even people who do see that love and wisdom are substance and form sense them as something outside their subject, flowing from it. They refer to what in their perception is outside the subject and flowing from it as substance and form, even though they sense it is as floating around. They do not realize that love and wisdom are the actual subject, and that what they sense as floating out from the subject is only the appearance of the inherent state of the subject. There are many reasons why this has not come to light before. One of them is that the appearances are the first things the human mind draws on, informs its understanding, and the only way to dispel these appearances is through careful probing into cause. If a cause is deeply hidden, we cannot probe into it unless we keep our discernment in spiritual light for a protracted period of time, and we cannot hold it there for a long time because of the earthly light that keeps pulling us back. Still, the truth is that the love and wisdom are the real functional substances and form that make up every subject. And since this truth is counter to appearance, though it may seem unworthy of credence unless some evidence is supplied. And since the only way to supply evidence is with the kind of things we perceive with our physical senses, is that I need to draw on. That is what I need to draw on. And we have 5 external senses called touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. The subject of touch is a skin that envelops us. The very substance and form of the skin make it feel what comes into contact with it. The sense of touch is not the things that come into contact with it, but in the substance, the form of the skin. That is the subject, and the sense itself is simply the way it is affected by contact. It is the same with taste. The sense is simply the way a substance form, this time of the tongue, are affected. The tongue is the subject. It is the same with smell. We recognize odors affect the nostrils and are in the nostrils, and the smell is in the way impinging aromas affect them. It is the same with hearing. It is the same as though we're hearing in the place where the sounds originate, but hearing is in the ear and is the way its substance and form are affected. It is only in appearance that hearing happens at a distance from the ear. This is true of sight as well. When we see objects at a distance, it seems as though our sight were where they are. However, sight is in the eye, which is the subject. The sight is the way the eye is affected too. Distances is simply what we infer about space on the basis of intervening objects or on the basis of reduced size and consequent loss of clarity of an object whose image is being presented within the eye according to its angle of incidence. We can see from this that the sight does not go out from the eye to the subject, but that the image of the object enters the eye and affects its substance and form. It is the same for both sight and hearing. Hearing does not go out of the ear to seize on the sound, but the sound enters the ear and affects it. It stands to reason then that the affecting of the substance and the form that constitute a sense is not something separate from the subject. It's simply the affecting of a change within the subject, and the subject remaining the subject throughout and thereafter. It then follows that sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch are not things that go floating out from their organs. They are the organs themselves, in respect to their substance and form. Sensation happens when they are affected. It's the same with love and wisdom. The only difference being that the substances and forms that are love and wisdom are not visible to our eyes as the organs of our external senses. Still, no one can deny that those matters of love and wisdom, that what we call thought, perceptions, and feelings, are substance and form. They are not things that go floating out from nothing, remote from any functional and real substance and form that are their subjects. They are, in fact, countless substances and forms in the brain that serve as the homes of all of the inner sensation that involves our discernment and volition. What has been said about our external senses points to the conclusion that all our feelings, perceptions, and thoughts in those substances and forms are not something they breathe out. They themselves are functional and substantial subjects. They do not emit anything, but simply undergo changes in response to things that touch and affect them. There will be more later on those things that touch and affect them. This brings us to the point that we can see that divine love and wisdom in and of themselves are substance and form, and they are essential reality and manifestation, unless they were as much reality and manifestation as they are substance and form. They would be only theoretical constructs that in and of themselves are nothing. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Okay, and I wish you a happy Monday. Hope your day goes well. Leave me a comment. Thank you for all my new subscribers. I do appreciate you very much. And leave me a comment, and I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.